In part one, we met the two types of investors.
In part two, we saw the math. $47,000 lost, not from the crash, but from the reaction to it.
This is the part where everything becomes actionable.
3 specific things the learners do, and one number at the end that reframes every loss you've ever had.
So what do the learners actually do differently?
What is the specific behavior that separates the investors who eventually build wealth from the ones who stay on the sideline?
I've broken it down to 3 things. The first is the post-mortem.
Within 30 days of the loss, while the experience is still fresh, they sit down and answer 3 questions in writing, not in their head, in writing.
1. What did I believe when I made this investment? And was that belief based on evidence or on hope?
2. At what point did the evidence change? And did I respond to that change or ignore it?
3. What is the specific, actionable thing I will do differently next time? The act of writing forces clarity that thinking alone never achieves.
Vague lessons like, I'll be more careful, change nothing. Specific lessons like, I will never put more than 5% of my portfolio in a single stock, change everything.
The second thing learners do is keep investing. Not recklessly, not in the same thing that lost them money, but they don't stop. They maintain the habit of investing because they understand the habit is more important than any single investment decision. There's research from Vanguard. Investors who kept contributing every month through the 2008 crisis, when the market dropped 50%, had fully recovered by 2011. Investors who stopped contributing took an average of 4 additional years to reach the same point. 4 years from stopping a habit during the scary part. The third thing, and this is the one that surprises people, is that they talk about it. Not to brag, not to complain, but to process. They tell someone what happened, what they lost, what they learned. Because the investors who keep the loss a secret never fully integrate the lesson. The shame stays attached, and shame makes you avoid the thing you're ashamed of. The investors who say out loud, I lost money, here's why, here's what I learned, they've separated the experience from their identity. The loss becomes information, not evidence of who they are.
A Stanford study found that people who wrote down their mistakes in specific detail were 64% less likely to repeat the same mistake within 2 years. 64%. The act of writing it down isn't therapy, it's strategy.
Here's something that genuinely blew my mind.
A $5,000 loss at age 25 is cheaper than a $5,000 loss at age 45.
Not in dollar terms. Obviously, $5,000 is $5,000. But in terms of what it teaches you and what it protects you from, the early loss is dramatically less expensive.
If you lose $5,000 at 25 and learn the real lessons, you protect the much larger amounts you'll invest in your 30s and 40s. The $50,000 decisions, the $100,000 decisions. The early loss is paying tuition for an education that protects your serious money.
If you avoid any significant loss until age 45 and then put a large amount into something that drops 40%, you have no emotional framework to handle it.
The loss at 45 is bigger. You have less time to recover, and you've never built the psychological muscle to respond well.
The most dangerously overconfident investors are almost always the ones who went up for a long time without ever going down. They've never been tested. They've never found out whether their risk tolerance is real or just theoretical. Okay, here's where this video earns its watch time. Everything I've described comes down to a very small number of concrete decisions, things you can do this week, some of them today. There are 3 situations you might be in right now. I'm going to give you the exact move for each one. If you're currently in a losing position,
Do not make any decision in the next 48 hours. That is not a joke. Decisions made in acute emotional distress are systematically worse. Give yourself 48 hours before you do anything. After 48 hours, ask, has the investment thesis changed, or has just the price changed? A price drop alone is not a reason to sell. A change in the underlying business might be. Know the difference. If you already sold and you're sitting in cash, the most expensive thing you can do is wait for the right time to get back in. There is no right time. There is only now and later. And later always costs more. Start with a small position, something small enough that it doesn't feel scary, and rebuild the habit. If a past loss scared you away from investing entirely, I want you to do one thing. Go look at what the market has done since the point when you stopped investing. Just look at the number. Because abstract regret is easy to ignore. Specific numbers are harder. And then ask yourself, is another loss actually worse than what has already happened from not being in? For most people, the answer is no. If you could go back to the moment right after your first loss, knowing everything you now know, would you make the same decision? Really think about that, because the answer tells you exactly what to do next. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Every investor who has ever built real wealth has a story about a loss. A real one. A painful one. The kind that makes you question whether you should be doing this at all. The loss is not the obstacle. The loss is the curriculum. What separates the investors who build wealth isn't intelligence or timing or even discipline. It's what they do with the painful experiences, whether they extract the lesson and keep going or let the loss write a story about who they are. You already paid the tuition. The question is whether you're going to take the class. So here's your homework. Write down those 3 questions. What did I believe? Was it based on evidence? What will I do differently? Not in your head, on paper, today. Because the investors who write it down are the ones who don't repeat it. And the ones who don't repeat it are the ones who, 10 years from now, are sitting on something real. If this video helped you, please hit that like button. It genuinely makes a difference for this channel. And subscribe if you're not already, because this is exactly the kind of thing we talk about here. Not the obvious stuff, but the stuff that actually changes how you think about money. I'll see you in the next one.